welcome to our third episode of our LinkedIn Live series, which centres around recruitment in North America. And today I have a great guest with me who's expanded his recruitment business to America, firstly starting out from the UK and more recently expanding further with a location in the US. So we've got Jamie Fraser, who's the CEO of InterEx Group, a recruitment business that specialises in roles across cloud, data, Microsoft and security. And Jamie founded the business in 2016 at the age of just 23. Since then, the business has grown at a phenomenal pace and is actually set to exceed 48 million in revenue this year. Since starting the business 6 years ago, Jamie has grown his internal headcount from 1 to around 120 by the end of this year. He's actually outgrown 5 offices in London and they're now located in the 6th office in the heart of the city. Earlier this year, Jamie relocated to Miami in Florida to cement his presence in the state after finding huge successes by starting his US business from the UK. So welcome, Jamie, and thank you for joining us.
Thanks for having me.
Before we jump into your American story, I thought it'd be great for everyone listening if you could just tell us a little bit about how you founded the business and what really, at the age of 23, were your ambitions at that point in time.
Yeah, of course. I worked for a global organisation, had a lot of investment. They grew aggressively with just, I think, more of the mediocre, average type of recruitment consultant at the time. Reason for leaving that business more down to the fact of recognition and rewarding. I've done some very, very successful things, probably youngest in the company, top biller globally. And I think for me personally, I want to feel appreciated. And it's a big driver for me at InterEx is the recognition, rewarding and investment we give back into the people within the business.
Yeah.
I launched I left there at 22 and had this idea of wanting to carry on and do recruitment, but I never knew that I was going to grow InterEx to what InterEx is now. I think my goal was I just want to be the best in my market. That's like my ultimate goal. And then that's why it continued to grow. So that's the reason why I left and probably why I set up. And I didn't know any of this was going to happen, but it has. And, it's been exciting.
Yeah. Well, exciting's one way to describe it, I can imagine, as obviously being the CEO. But since you founded it, you've gone on to have success both in the UK and the US.
Yeah.
For today, though, we're going to focus specifically on your American story, or the American dream, as some people will say. But you started that story and that journey of going to the US from the UK, so from London. So do you want to just talk a little bit about how you did that, and were there any challenges? What were the successes, and how did you go about it?
Yeah, of course. I think naturally the challenge, right, is time zone difference. Actually getting people to commit to hours. I was fortunate to have a very, very, very committed and hardworking team that worked from the UK. My guys in the UK sometimes didn't finish to 1, 2, 3 o'clock in the morning. That's not something that I enforced. Their hours were till 9:30, had to be in at 11:30. Yeah. But even being at 11:30, it's not really productive because you can't really be on the phone until about 12:31, 1:30. So they're the natural challenges, right? It's not working to the right time zone, not being able to call people after hours, which is something I'm big about. So working from the UK and actually adapting to the actual US environment and culture and time zone was such a big challenge for us in the UK. Being able to actually adapt to how the US market was working, was moving. Naturally, I had people coming in next day tired and lethargic on a Friday. I couldn't have expected them to work till the same sort of time. Yeah. They had pretty much a half day on Friday, and naturally, me and what I believe in as a recruiter, if you want to be the best, you work harder than the rest, and you can't do that from the UK. There's lots of companies, and my chairman even talks about it, about companies that are successful in the UK. That's understood, but I think for us and the way that we work and what we're trying to achieve number one excellence, being the best. And big believer that that couldn't be done in the UK. And that was like the natural challenge, is getting a team that can commit. I wasn't always working here till 9, 10 o'clock, so I couldn't drive them in the right way, you know. And I like driving my team, with the right behaviours, the right standards, and just being there in general. So I think that's the two challenges I had the most, is having a committed team and me being able to support them as much as I wanted to.
Yeah. And so do you feel that you couldn't really accelerate that US growth until you were physically there? How did you go around doing your business development, building that relationship remotely from the UK?
Yeah, I'll be honest with you. And people are probably going to disagree with me here, but I don't think you need to meet a client to expand a client. I didn't meet one client face to face to expand them, and that's including Microsoft. That's including some of the biggest companies in the world. However, we are starting to drive face-to-face meetings, and I'm not saying I don't disagree with it completely, but this job can be done at a high level, via Teams, via video, via the right conversations that you have, the right cold calling, etc. And that's what I train my team on, is how they grow a desk quickly and effectively.
Yeah, definitely. I totally agree, by the way. I think a lot of people have said that when they've started in the UK, just by having those Teams, Zoom calls, you know, whatever they are, they have been able to win clients, build up, you know, a client book. But as you say, actually being there physically and on the time zone definitely helps. So would you say that starting in the UK really was foundation building for landing in the US?
I was bored in the UK, driving it in the UK, to be honest with you. It wasn't exciting enough. It wasn't expanding enough. It was the foundation. We was doing the UK market for about 9-ish, maybe 10, 11 months. I don't know off the top of my head. Something around that. We built up a good contract book. But like I said, we couldn't reach our full potential. The numbers that we've done since we've come to the UK have just skyrocketed. And the foundations were built. We come to the US market with an okay foundation, but we have accelerated aggressively since we've been here.
Okay, brilliant. So Miami then. So what's it been like since landing in Miami? And perhaps just for everyone who's watching, it'd be great if you can touch on why you chose Miami as the location to be based.
Yeah, so first, why Miami? There is no recognised staffing business in Miami right now that is dominating the market. That's from my research and analysis. My goal in the next 9, maybe 12 months, hopefully 9, is to be the #1 staffing company in Miami. We will achieve that by our strategy, execution of our strategy, and what we're trying to achieve to be #1. The reason why I haven't diluted what we've been trying to do is because I first want to make a massive impact in one location. I want to be known as the recruitment company that come from the UK to dominate the US market, starting in Miami and building on that name to go to other locations. I'm not a big believer about having all of these offices everywhere. Just like in the UK, right? We've got the office to, 70 odd heads right now. 79 heads. We've built a culture there. We've been able to globalize a culture, replicate, repeat a process, and take it to the US now. And that's been so impactful for us. So that's why Miami. When I come to Miami, I was staying in a hotel at the start, so it's horrible. And, you know, to be honest, it's not easy to get things sorted in the US, naturally. It's not easy to get social security numbers, your banking. I still haven't got my banking sorted, you know. It's not easy to get your housing sorted. There's so many things that it's a lot more difficult and slower to do in the US, but it's rewarding at the same time. So you've got to know, I think for us, like our lesson learned is to have a lot more in-depth research into what we do. But we've learned from that now. We've dealt with it. You know, my natural advice to anyone that will be coming to the US, make sure you go through all of the processes from personal to work before you come here, because it's not easy, it's not quick, and you need to know what you're doing. Otherwise, you're pretty much winging it, and no one likes to do that, right? So, yeah, when I first come here, you know, I've never been to the US before, just as an FYI. You know, I've never been to the US before, and it was a big challenge for me. I actually called my mum and I thought, you know, I don't know if I made the right decision here, because it's just such a big change. But now I'm loving it. I'm committed to be here, and it's exciting.
Yeah, brilliant. We've actually got a question from Martin Drake, who's from Hire People. He said, have you grown the US function through expatriation of UK staff or employment of US nationals?
Yeah, I had 6, so I had 5 UK consultants.
Mm-hmm.
I actually hired a US consultant and actually brought him over to London for 2 months. I paid for his relocation, so I wanted to understand our culture, our processes, etc. So I took 6 guys with me to the US, 5 being UK, 6 being me, and 1 US national that we brought over to drive in processes. Yeah. I am a big believer of the UK recruitment world, the UK recruitment culture. And that's what's going to make us different, is because there's a lot of companies that talk about needing to adapt to the US culture. And one of my biggest things that I learned is not listening to too many people of what always works. People told me I couldn't build my team on the philosophies that I have. I have done that. And I'm going to be doing the same in the US. And I'll be honest with you, the US have actually told me it's a breath of fresh air, what we are trying to do in the US market. But 100% need to be bringing over the UK culture, because personally, the UK culture and recruitment world is a lot more further ahead than the US.
Mm-hmm. That is such feedback that we hear, on regular occasions from our other clients as well. And I think that's what a lot of people do, is try and imprint the DNA of what you've created in the UK, bring it over to the US and start off potentially with a UK team. But then, because you've grown an American business, then to branch out and start to imprint that culture on the US nationals that you bring in to grow the American business.
Yeah.
So cultural differences then between recruitment in the UK versus recruitment in the US. Tell us about those?
A lot. Sometimes I bang my head against the wall when I think some of these questions. I think naturally in the UK, we can hire an 18-year-old and we can get them billing quickly. I had an 18-year-old 2 months ago do 100K in 1 month, and he's only been with us for 6 months. 18 years old, never done sales before, not a natural salesperson. But you can drive them in the right way as a great recruiter, with the right intensity, etc., etc. That's a little bit differently here. However, we have a strategy in the US to spend a bit more money to hire more experienced salespeople, so the ROI is quicker. So they actually know that they want to do sales, and so they actually have a bit more maturity, and know that we are going to have an expectation because we are a sales business. The culture is different. It's hard to drive this exact same culture as the UK. We've had to adapt slightly. However, we will not change who we are as a brand. We will not change who we are as a DNA, as a culture. We've still got the same things we're driving over in this office. We still have the same expectations. I'm here, so the expectation is super high at the minute, because I'm determined to make this such a success. But 100% different. You do have to adapt slightly, but that's natural.
Yeah. Okay. And just to touch, obviously you've relocated to the US. Why did you do that as the CEO? Who have you left the UK operations? Whose hands have you left that in, or are you doing both?
I've got a sales director in the UK that's come through the ranks as a senior consultant, someone I trust, who's loyal. He's 28 years old. I believe in people. I don't care how old someone is. If you're good enough, you're old enough for me, and he's good enough. I come to Miami myself because how can I scale a business in Miami or the US if I'm not here? Yes, it's been harder. I'm up earlier. I start work at 7 o'clock because I need to answer my all these US topics. I get a bit OCD with my inbox, right? And I want things done before I start my day. But I'm looking to drive this US business 6 times quicker than what we've done in the UK. We've got to X amount of heads in the UK. I'm looking to do that just in 1 year. And that can't happen if I'm not here, basically.
So you need to be here, but in Miami, driving the machine.
Yeah, I've already got my eyes on my next office. So.
Oh, okay. Someone's asked us, why is UK recruitment approach so much further ahead than the US? In what ways?
Of course. Technology, processes, training, the culture, the way of working. We're dominating the US market because we're quicker. That is the natural reason why we're quick. You can say that we're aggressive to some extent, but aggressive is just such a throwaway word in my eyes. But we are a lot more intense as a culture, or my business is anyway. But naturally, the UK recruitment world is a lot more quicker to things. So I speak to some. I'm involved in business development. I lead a lot of our client engagement across the business anyway, and I just naturally hear that people just don't deliver. They're not quick, etc., etc., etc. We have a non-negotiable commitment to all of our clients to deliver within 48 hours. Clients love that. Clients, they thrive and they crave of this sort of speed. That's my reasoning why I believe that.
Yeah, definitely. We've had someone ask which industry in the US have the largest market in terms of recruitment. So the largest industries are tech, where Jamie's operating in, life sciences, healthcare, and finance. They're the top industries. Healthcare, purely because of the landscape of the US and how the healthcare system works, is a really large industry too. So tell us then, how are things going in Miami? How's that progress been? Sounds like you've obviously wanted to aggressively grow it quickly. How are you getting on? What success have you found? What are your challenges and how are you working through those? Big questions, sorry, and lots in there.
Yeah, no, of course. By the end of, so in 2 weeks' time, we will have a very clear structure in place from a management perspective. Our management structure in the US will probably be even a little bit more further along than what we've got in the UK. Obviously, naturally, I've got a lot of coaching to do, bringing people into our way. I'm a big believer that it doesn't matter how senior you are, we want people to adapt to the InterEx way, but to add positive advice and coaching impact to the sales floor. That's what that's a non-negotiable for me, for anyone coming into the business, that I expect you to offer positive ideas that can improve our culture weekly. It's getting my culture right. We are going to be a really defined recruitment business by the end of this year. We've got 2 training academies that we've done. We've got 2 more about to happen. We'll get anywhere between 7 to 10 in both academies. I'll be honest with you, we've created a brand presence and attraction, like internal attraction and client attraction, that's allowing us to hire quickly. It's allowing us to get the right people, and people want to be part of this journey. We've created something where people, they come to interviews and they just want the job. They get interviews because we're going places. We're not a stagnant business. I want to grow aggressively. I'm leading from the front. I have a very direct approach in terms of what I expect and what we can give. I say to everyone, I'm great to work for, but I'm hard to work for. But people like that. And we are creating something seriously special. We've already outgrown this office. By November, we're about to see it sign a 2 to 3 year lease that's allow us to scale to 100 people. There's just so much going on that I'm excited about. And I'll be honest with you, this has all come with the people that I brought into the business. I've got a great people team. I've got a great back office team that we've created. I've got a great L&D team, a great talent team. We've just hired a talent director in the US. There are so many exciting things that we're doing. And the reason why we're able to do that is because we're executing what we're saying. Anyone that joins my business, and I say to everyone, we execute. There's no delays. We're an execution type business.
Amazing. I think especially the brand of InterEx, you can see how much you've grown that brand reputation. And I always talk about the power of storytelling, and a lot of your videos and content that you put out really shows that story and that journey of InterEx, which I think is what appeals to obviously talent coming into the business, but also in terms of everyone else who's watching on. Seeing how you get on. So, and I think at the center of that story is obviously your personal journey as a founder of a business. So obviously you set up the business at the age of 23. And I suppose there was a lot of people around you thinking that you need advice or telling you that you've got a lot to learn. So I think it would be great if you could share with us, what have you learned from kind of founding a business, leading it? Is there any other advice you give to other CEOs, at the beginning of that journey too?
100%. I think the first advice that I will give you is setting up a business and you've got a proven background, believe in what you've done. I took so many advice from different people that have not really scaled a business, and I think that was my worst and biggest bottleneck. Believe in your plan and execute it. I think if you want to scale a business aggressively, and one thing in everyone that I speak to, trainees right the way through to director, I tell them what to expect from me. I will be the hardest working person that they've ever met. That's my one commitment to them, right? If you're not committed to your business and you're not looking to go the extra mile more than anyone else will do in your company, then you're not going to scale it to the point of how you want. I want to have 200, 250 people next year. We want to be a £100 million business in the next 3 to 4 years. This can't happen with me working 50%. I'm in early, I leave late, I leave from the front, I work 6 days a week. That's what it takes for hyper and serious success in my eyes. So that's another point. I think the other thing as well is having a clear strategy of how you would dominate a market. And then I think the fourth thing, which I know that we're known for, I work with a very experienced trainer that backs and says, you know, your process is probably one of the best I've ever worked with, is defining a good training program and defining a great process. In all of our training, we call it the InterEx way. And we expect everyone at every level to learn the InterEx way. Because the way I look at things, right, if my director's away, my manager's away, and other managers away, I can have trainees train people and coach people, advise people, right? And one thing that we're big at, we have a process on finding candidates. We have a process on winning business. We have a process from mapping out clients. There is a process on everything. We're really strict in terms of the way we work, because if people are following the process, then we won't let them run with that process, basically. So that's like one of the biggest things that made us successful. And now what I can do, I can replicate, I can repeat, and I can globalize a culture, DNA, and process and scale it.
Yeah, 100%. I think you've just answered Laura's question. She said, do you create your own training plan or do you outsource? So Laura, I hope that...
Outsourcing was the worst thing I ever done, if I'm honest with you. I had one training academy before that I outsourced, and there's one person left in it. One person left in it. I drove a lot of our training. I'm still involved in training. I probably run around for BD 3 to 4 sessions because I love doing business development, and I'm not really in the candidate side anymore. But yeah, I drove the training program till I got to probably about 50 heads, I think. And we started hiring. But you've got to be involved in it. And we have SMEs in all of the different areas. If someone's great at locking down a job, we have the best person to do that. It shouldn't just sit there and D. You need to get people involved in it. And that's what's been super key to our success.
Yeah, brilliant. So why the US? Because it is a complex market. It's one of the most complex markets in the world. What was it that made you choose the US as kind of your next expansion for InterEx?
I think just head count. I want a big company. I get bored very easily, and I want more people involved in the business. I want our brand presence to be bigger. I want to earn more money, and I want to scale quicker. The US is the only market you can do that in. The fees that we do, I had one guy the other day do a 3,500 weekly GP. It's our biggest one. He done that last week. You can't do that in Europe.
Okay. Everyone talks about the fees, definitely.
Yeah,
so just to finish off, and if we do have a couple of minutes, I'll try and get through some of the other questions. I can see lots of people are asking them, so I'll try and get round to them. But I'd love to hear about your future plans. You know, what's next for InterEx? I know you've hinted a little bit throughout today's session, but do you want to share that with us?
Yeah, of course. This year we're going to have, I'm very picky about my hires. We're going to have a super strong management structure. I've got a new group CFO joining. We've got a contracts director joining. We've got a people director in the UK. We've got an ops director joining. In the US, we've got many directors joining as well. US nationals, they are actually, that are believing into what we're trying to do, and they want to adapt to what we're trying to do as well, which is super great. Following that, we want to get to 45 to 50 heads in Miami by the end of this year. We predicted to forecast 100 heads. We'll probably finish up on 120. We're way on target. We've stopped our training academies in the UK, and we're focusing on scaling up the US now. Next year, 200 plus heads. We want 1 to 2 more offices next year. In discussion with my chairman right now, and once our CFO starts, then there's going to be lots of planning around that. Like I said, I think, naturally, the goal is to get to £100 million valuation as quick as possible, 3 to 4 years. Scale this, not stop. I'm putting 100% effort into it. I've got the same backing from all of my management team. We're all part of the journey. We all want to drive this and have the same goal, that end result of selling to a high number. Yeah, brilliant. Okay, well, we'll just finish off, Jamie. I've got no doubt, by the way, that you're absolutely going to hit everything that you've just said. But just to finish off, we'll just answer a couple of questions. So Martin has asked, are you exclusively contract, or do you have a blend of perm and contract? Specifically because he thinks delivering a shortlist for perm in 48 hours is impressive. Yeah, of course. I'm a contract recruiter. One of our biggest pitfalls is perm. So we've just hired a perm director in the US and hired a perm director in London. London guys started. We've now grown our perm team, but no, we are still to this day a 95% contract recruitment business. And people probably think I'm mad and say, how did you do that? Because a lot of people go to perm first. I have my heart set on contracts. I love contract. We've scaled contracts. It's not been easy, to be honest with you, from a cash flow perspective. It's hard to get cash flow in. We took zero investment from day one, meaning that cash was key, and cash wasn't just so available because we was contract. And we're reaping the rewards now. We've got such a great contract book. It's a big backbone in terms of what we do. And now it's about adding that perm and watching that bottom line go straight up now. Brilliant. Laura's also asked about salaries for US-based recruitment consultants, because these widely vary compared to the UK. So, you don't need to divulge, but she's asking, how did you go about, where did you find your information on how to base your salaries? I am a big believer. One thing I do is hate salary bandings. You cannot scale a business at the start focusing on salary bandings. Why? Because you need the people. Okay, I'm not saying you offer ridiculous money, but and this comes with my incentives as well. We invest so much, and I believe we pay above industry standard on incentives and giving back to the team and what we do. You cannot scale a startup business being the US by focusing on, you're 10K a bit too much. If they're worth the money, they can show you they're worth the money, then pay them the money. Okay, the key thing at the start is creating a structure. You get the structure right, then you can focus on, okay, what are we going to bring in, at what level, at what salaries, etc., etc. We're starting to drive that now in the UK because we have that nearly there. Our trainees, like I said, we're going for experienced salespeople, so naturally it's more of an expensive approach, but we're hoping the ROI. I'm a big risk taker. My risk here is it's going to cost more, but the ROI, I'm hoping it's going to be Yeah, brilliant. Jamie, we're nearly finished. That's gone so quick. That half an hour has absolutely flown. I apologise to anyone whose questions we didn't get a chance to answer. What I will do is make a note of those. I'll circle back round with Jamie and we'll reach out to you, or I will reach out to you via LinkedIn and hopefully be able to answer everyone's questions. Jamie, it just leaves me to say thank you so much for joining us. It's been absolutely fantastic catching up with you. The last time we caught up was the week before you're about to fly out to Miami, so it's such a pleasure to see you doing so well. Thank you. And if anyone has got any follow-up or wants to speak to PGC about expanding to the US, or maybe you do have a question for Jamie, just reach out to either of us on LinkedIn. We're more than happy to speak to anyone who needs support. Okay, thanks guys. Thanks everyone. Bye.